Production support for the weekly special is provided by WTIU members. Thank you.
Tonight's episode of the weekly special is all about daring destinations. We hit the streets to find out about the growing sport of longboarding. We investigate the dangers of working around grain bins and farm equipment. A steamboat historian tells us the tale of Captain Francis McHarry. Plus, zip lines, zombies, and a performance by the Bloomington Ukulele Club, right now on the weekly special.
Hi and welcome to the weekly special. I'm Joe Wren. As Pam said, we've got a lot of fun in store for you on tonight's show, so we'll get right to it by going over to the booth. Where, Pam, what do you got going on over there?
Oh, this is fun. This is very fun, Joe. We have Garrett Wilson of Concrete Liberty and also Max Vickers of the IU Longboarding Club. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
Last time I saw you guys, I was on one of these babies. First, we'll talk to you, Garrett, about Concrete Liberty. It's an advocacy group. Tell us how that got started.
Yes. Basically, it started with my buddy, Gavin.
Mm-hmm.
We had no one to skate with. So it was just me and him, and we wanted to, we saw the community online and saw it in California and how strong the community was, how these people joined together to go skate and have fun in large groups, similar to critical mass that bikers do. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to take that concept, bring it to Indianapolis and Indiana and as a whole, Bloomington in addition.
Absolutely.
And the struggle we had was dealing with the law. It was very difficult to do this. So we would go out, and slowly it trickled from 2 people to 5 people up to now we're getting like 20 to 30 people in our little critical mass.
Right.
And just gaining public attention and educating people on what it is, why it it's not an illegal. It should not be illegal. It's very similar to riding a bike. And yeah, that's pretty much how it started. And
so it's to help familiarize people and to let the riders know there are ways that you should be riding to keep it safe.
Yes.
And that kind of thing.
We always promote wearing helmets, wearing pads. We we try to give people a hard time if they don't bring any sort of helmet.
Right. Yeah. Well, you guys got me all dressed up and with the gear, and I did my shot at trying to longboard, which was a blast, by the way. And we actually have a little footage from that. Let's check it out. Okay, hi Garrett.
Hey Pam.
I'm Pam from the weekly special.
Nice to meet you.
And I've been told you're going to teach me how to longboard.
Yeah,
tonight.
We're going to show you a few things. And
okay.
One of the most important things with longboarding is safety.
Okay.
First thing you need, a helmet.
I got my helmet.
Good. Next thing, generally when you fall, people tend to go hands forward, palms forward. So wrist guards, definitely recommended.
Okay.
All right.
Now what?
Next, elbow pads, because that's an easy one to hit too.
Okay.
Next thing, like I said, some people tend to fall knee first.
Yep.
So knee pads.
Knee pads. Okay.
Now stopping, when you're going down a big hill.
Think about stopping.
The most common method of coming to a dead stop is doing a foot brake, which is where you de-weight the board a little bit, and you come to a grinding stop like that.
And so I'm assuming I should just play around with whether a wide stance or which foot. And...
Yeah, stance is all personal preference and how you're comfortable. There's no right or wrong.
Okay.
It's just how you want to ride and what's fun for you.
Well, let's go.
All right.
Is there a front? Tally-ho.
That's good. You're doing good. We are going to start picking up some speed, so if you have to hop off before you get going too fast. Okay.
We are going faster. It's
Yeah.
the stopping that's going to be very, okay, that was fun. They didn't show the stopping part of it. I didn't quite do it correctly, but thanks to our producer. He got me stopped. So thank you for that. And we'll talk about the equipment in just a second. But Max, I want to talk to you because you are actually with the IU Longboarding Club. And tell us about that.
It's a group in Bloomington, Indiana that's just It's just a Facebook group for now, but it's used to network the longboarders and skateboarders around like Indiana University and to create events and sessions weekly.
Do you guys usually meet, and we see you here, is that you? That's you, that's very cool. Do you guys try and meet once a week?
We have weekly skate sessions, but we also try and put together like bigger events too.
Okay. And can anybody join if they're in Bloomington or have the interest?
Yes, anybody.
I mean, just show up.
Even if you're like wanting to get started, we'll help you out. And
okay. Now you have taken this kind of to the next level, and you actually travel around. There are competitions?
Yes, there are competitions. There's not as many in the Midwest as there are like in California or Canada, but I do what I can to compete.
Absolutely. And you're going to one this weekend. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's a race in Ohio called Soldiers of Downhill, and it used to be an official IGSA race, and the last couple of years they've just been having
There's some right here,
closed road, and there's like usually some sponsored riders that go, and it's a pretty big thing. But
now, do you just stand on it and go like for speed, or do you do tricks and everything?
For downhill, it's pretty much about speed and like taking turns and such. But I mean, you can do tricks on a longboard. It's possible.
But not for competitions. Usually, that's
not
just,
necessarily.
Okay. How did you get started with the longboard? Did you start off with a shorter one, or just?
I started off skateboarding a few years back, and I tried a longboard and I just liked it a lot more.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and you're doing really well at it too. I saw all you guys was just like blowing me away. Made it look very simple. And I do have a question. The difference between skateboarding and longboarding. Like Tony Hawk would be the skateboard. Like if you're going to do ramps and things, I'm assuming you can't do a longboard. Well, I mean, I guess you could. But.
I mean, it's really hard to distinguish this because they're all skateboards. It's all under this umbrella of skateboarding. You have the park decks is sort of what people are familiar with the double kicks. They're real small, tiny wheels. That's so they can do really technical, precise movements and do those little kick tricks and all that fun stuff. With longboarding, everything's just bigger, different angles on things, so it'll feel a lot different, and again, there's more to it within longboarding. You can get technical with longboarding, and you can get just, cruising, having fun. But yeah, it's very like flowy. Like downhill boards are way more technical. Max can tell you about that.
There's different aspects of the board, like the concave, the trucks, the wheels, everything.
Well, and it can go over more surfaces, I would assume, too, than the shorter one. I mean, from when I was a kid, the fiberglass or whatever, where you get a pebble and you're off. This seems to do better with that kind of road conditions.
Definitely a smoother ride than a skateboard.
Yeah, but it can be dangerous, too, and that's part of what you go out and teach. And what sort of equipment should people be using?
Helmets. Helmets are the number one thing. And I've come to find that having slide gloves, like Max has here, is the number one way to prevent an accident.
Okay.
You go down on your palms, you can just slide out an accident instead of catching your hand and rolling or whatever. This can really prevent major accidents.
And you guys are on usually public streets doing something like this.
I make a point of riding in the road.
Okay.
Yeah, just like a bike would.
Okay. So do you have the hand signals and everything like a bike would?
I use hand signals. I ride on the farthest right-hand side of the road. If there's a bike lane, I use that.
Okay.
Definitely making cars aware of us.
Oh, absolutely. If somebody's interested in picking up one of these, or with the holidays coming up, a parent wants to get one for their kids, what should they look for? Is there a particular brand, or is there?
I mean, there's entry level, and then there's more advanced. It all depends on what you want to spend. I mean, Sector 9, Arbor, those are some sort of entry-level brands. Then when you get into more advanced, this is a Rain board, right? Rain. That's like one of the highest-end companies on the market. Loaded is another really high-end. We have a Loaded board over there. Then you can even get into hand-built custom boards,
Right,
and that's
right.
like another level.
I'm sure that is. And if people want to hear more information or get more information, they can go to your website, which is
ConcreteLiberty.com.
okay, and they can find IU Longboarding on Facebook.
Yes.
Okay, well, good luck this weekend, and thank you again
Thanks.
for my
Thanks.
little lesson. That was lots and lots of fun.
Yeah.
Right now, though, we're going to go back over to Joe.
Pam, you look great, though I think the stopping of you is on the website.
No way.
1 million hits already.
Okay, great.
Thanks, very nice, cool stuff. And talking about taking it to the extreme and facing down dangers, the weekly special contributing producer Dan Goldblatt takes us to a rescue training event that focused on the perils of agricultural equipment. We learned that without proper precautions, farming can be deadly.
According to a recent report from Purdue University, farming remains one of the deadliest professions in the state, and farm deaths are no longer on the decline. Farmers are constantly exposed to dangerous machinery, large implements, and grueling physical labor. The Indiana Department of Labor reports that every year more than 7% of all Hoosier farmers will experience some type of injury, the highest of any profession in the state. Last month, we caught up with a collaboration of Indiana firefighters and EMTs who are learning the best ways to respond to farming accidents. According to the state's Assistant Fire Marshal, Jim Bennett, the rural firefighters must train for some unique farm injury situations.
Firemen today are multi-trained in so many different fields, not only grain bin entrapments, but confined space rescue, hazardous materials. They're EMTs, they're paramedics, they're ice rescue, they're scuba divers. It just goes on and on and on with the type of training that they have this day and time and the specialties that they're training for.
The inside of a grain bin is one of the most dangerous places on the farm. Farmers often have to climb into the grain-filled bins to scrape clumps of grain from the edges of the silos. While doing this, pockets of air can form underneath the seemingly solid grain, which give way under a farmer's weight, trapping the farmer beneath the grain. Sadly, according to Bennett, by the time firefighters reach people who have fallen into grain, there is little hope for survival.
If a person is buried below the waist, from the waist down, when you try to pull that person out, you're exerting tremendous force on that spinal column, and most often it's going to have an injury.
The best way to remove the grain from the bin when a person is inside is to cut into the bin and allow the grain to spill out. Firefighters attempting this procedure have to deal with grain pouring onto them with force while still sawing through metal to fully open the hole.
You'll take a metal circular saw and you'll make a V-type opening.
Another common farming accident is tractor rollover. Many old tractors are not equipped with rollover protection bars, and many farmers will even remove them from modern equipment. Rescuing a person from a flipped tractor requires firefighters move several tons of machinery off a person who may be already gravely injured. All this while making sure the tractor does not fall back onto the victim or one of the rescuers. The training exercise was put on by Advanced Rescue Solutions, an Indiana company that trains firefighters across the state.
Agriculture in general is a very hazardous occupation.
Rural Hoosier firefighters spend time educating farmers on safety practices throughout the year in hopes an accident can be prevented by practicing common sense safety in a notoriously dangerous profession.
For more information on keeping safe on the farm and information about grain bin rescue techniques, visit our Facebook page where we'll have links and additional video.
Thanks, Joe. Our next daring destination tonight is along the shores of the Ohio River, where we learn the spooky tale of steamboat captain Francis McHarry.
Captain Francis McHarry's tomb has been seen as a haunted location here in southern Indiana for years. Legend has it, if you listen closely, you may hear the cursing of the captain as boats pass his tomb on the Ohio River. We talked to steamboat historian Jack Custer to get the real story behind the legend.
Well, basically the legend is about an old steamboat captain who lived in this area in the 19th century. Captain Frank McHarry, and he was a rather irascible Irishman. He had quite a bit of a conflict with various people. He would be very irritated by the various steamboats coming near his ferry. This would agitate the horses on board, and this would cause a lot of fearful trepidation for a while, and it took a while to calm things down. The other thing is that he was very often an angry person because he lorded it over his deckhands and they reacted to him very badly. And one of the versions of the tale is they shot him on board. They were so angry with him.
Before his death in 1857, Captain McHarry demanded being buried upright in a tomb to overlook the Ohio River through a porthole. From there, he would curse all of the steamboats that passed him.
The tomb was built on a precipice overlooking the Ohio River. It's up on the hill, and it was built there for the family. I encountered the tomb and then finally noticed this one placid little sonnet above the entrance, and I thought this is rather incongruous because all the anger that's supposed to go along with the legend just doesn't fit. Because here you have this nice statement about the family and how they're peaceful, enjoyed all this, and then it doesn't seem to be the right connection to all the anger that supposedly came along.
In 1905, the body was moved, and even though Captain McHarry is no longer in his original tomb, the legend of him lives on and is respected by many.
The Delta Queen would turn the attention of all the passengers on McHarry's tomb, and just ordinary people passing will point up to the hill and say that's where the man is looking down to curse us if we don't acknowledge him. So it's easy to make a person think this is actual real. You have all these people who over the years have blown the whistles at the tomb, and this is where you get into the conflict between reality and fiction.
And now the Bloomington Ukulele Club.
1, 2, 3, 4. I know you belong to somebody new, but tonight you belong to me. Although we're apart, you're a part of my heart, but tonight you belong to me. Way down by the stream, how sweet it would seem once more just to dream in the moonlight. My honey, I know with the dawn that you will be gone, but tonight you belong to me. Way down by the stream, how sweet it would seem once more just to dream in the moonlight. My honey, I know with the dawn that you will be gone, but tonight you belong to me, just a little old me.
Yay! Thank you guys. Bloomington Ukulele Club. Ellen, I'll talk to you first. Why don't you introduce the group?
Right, well, we have Mimi, we have Jackie, I'm Ellen, and this is Raina.
And how did this come about? How did you guys all get together to begin with?
Well, a year ago, we were taking a class at People's University, which is part of Bloomington Parks and Recreation's adult learning component. And we liked the class so much, we liked playing, we said we have to continue playing, so we formed the Bloomington Ukulele Club.
And about how many people are in the club right now?
Maybe at one time or another 9 or 10 have appeared.
It's got such a happy sound to it, and when I hear that song, of course, I go back to the movie The Jerk, where Steve Martin and Bernadette Peters, you know, played, and I think of Tiny Tim. And what made you pick up the ukulele?
Number of reasons. Those musical influences. My son had given me a ukulele, and I thought, ooh, there's a class I have to play. So I took the class.
Why not? Is there a lot of music to choose from when you guys are deciding what songs?
Oh, yes.
It's pretty much any song can be done with the ukulele, I'm assuming.
Yes, and in fact we have like oldies from the 60s or even back to the 20s, as well as newer songs that are current now.
If people are interested in either getting more information or maybe hiring you guys out or joining your club, where can they go?
Well, we always like to have new members, and you can find us on Facebook at Bloomington Ukulele Group.
Okay.
And we do have a website, which I believe you'll provide.
Right, we'll put it on the screen.
And anybody can come join us.
Okay, and you could just Google search Bloomington Ukulele Club.
That's correct.
Well, thank you all for being here today. It was a joy, and we are now going to go back over to Joe.
Okay, thanks, Pam. And our last story tonight takes us high above the valleys of Brown County. The weekly special contributing producer Stan Jastrzebski has the story.
When Gary Bartels inherited about 500 acres of land in Brown County, he knew the land was equal parts risk and opportunity. He and his wife could retire early, or he and his sons Chris and Lance could pay the hefty property taxes and slowly reinvest in the property. So Bartels put the choice to his kids.
We said, this is a choice, guys. We can subdivide the property and sell it all off, and you guys can fend for yourself. Or I'm thinking about building an adventure retreat. If you're interested in doing this, then you can help me build it, and then someday you'll probably inherit it. But that means you have to commit to working weekends and working during the summer. It's your choice. You get 2 weeks.
In less than the allotted fortnight, the boys decided to keep the land and give up their free time to develop it. 13 years later, the Valley Branch Retreat has been built up, including the addition of paintball fields, mountain bike trails, and now zip lines through the tree canopy. Brown County tourism officials have no trouble getting visitors to come tour the brightly colored trees each fall. It's the busiest time of the year for the area. But until recently, there wasn't much opportunity to see them like this.
That was 440 feet of zip line. There are 9 zip lines in this park, which is about 500 acres. And on this one, you can actually race with a friend of yours if you want to.
The installation of the zip lines could create as many as 30 jobs in the coming months. Many of those will be 20-something guides, either fresh out of college or taking a break from it, who teach riders how to use the zip lines. What's a zip line, you ask? Basically, it's a steel cable suspended between 2 fixed points, usually a few dozen feet up a couple trees, which people ride along using a contraption which looks like a pair of pulleys and a set of handlebars. Attach the apparatus to the line, get the go-ahead from each of the 2 guides, shepherding the group through the high wire act.
Brake set, line clear.
Zipping. And you're off.
And go!
Gary Bartels spent much of his career as an engineer for auto parts manufacturer Arvin Meritor and now uses many of those skills at the ranch, but he can't say how much of his own money he's spent installing the zip lines. The costs all blend into more than a decade of adding amenities to the land. But Bartels acknowledges he's taking a sizable financial risk in a time where pennies are still being pinched.
I'm the maintenance guy, I'm the promoter, I'm the accountant, I'm even a ref, or maybe eventually a guide. So my time is, I put a lot of hours in, a lot more hours than I put in working for Arvin. It became clear to me that if I was gone, it would take 2 people to replace me. And looking at the amount of revenues generated, it could be a struggle for my 2 sons to keep this afloat without selling it.
Bartels should get some help from Brown County officials. He says he's wary that Midwesterners looking for a cheap staycation may not gravitate to ziplining, but Brown County Economic Development Commission President Tom Bornholt says it's a step toward a change in the overall climate in a county known more for antiquing than for adrenaline rushes.
You don't typically think of Indiana as an adventure state, so this is a great opportunity for us to start to create that atmosphere of here's an opportunity for an adventure in Indiana.
Bartels acknowledges his goal of 30 new jobs could be up a tree if business doesn't take off. But if the investment of this one small business owner does bear fruit, the area at large may benefit from the new clientele Bartels brings in. Brown County Convention and Visitors Bureau Executive Director Jane Ellis says previous forays into adventure tourism have exhibited the kind of multiplier effect which gives economic development officials the same kind of adrenaline rush they might get from the new zip lines.
It's also raised an awareness for us here in Brown County of some of the things that we may lack, particularly the mountain bikers were looking for, was a brewery, a brew pub. Through that, some people got together and we now have a brew pub.
It's still up in the air whether the economy will create stress or relieve it for Gary Bartels, who's left to wonder for the moment whether he will recoup his investment.
There was times that during the build it was very difficult. So this was like, I needed this really. I felt so much better after zipping and having that experience. I said, yes, this is what people need.
That's a relief the tourism-heavy Brown County economy hopes it gets to feel, too. Reporting for the Weekly Special, I'm Stan Jastrzebski.
Oh my God, that is awesome.
Well, good. How fun. For more information about zipline adventures in Brown County, visit valleybranchretreat.net. Well, a fun show tonight, huh, Pam?
Oh my gosh, it really was. And we've got one more daring destination for you before we go.
That's right. In celebration of their annual B-Movie Festival, this year's organizers hosted a zombie walk through the streets of Franklin.
We'll see you next week. Good night.
Production support for the weekly special is provided by WTIU members. Thank you.